Hello folks, and you're very welcome. This is Mark here, Mark Wilson, and I'm just doing a quick intro for you all about the day in the woods. Now, I was involved in this for many years, and my background is mainly in the arts and crafts. However, I did spend a good number of years in Manchester in the old days working with Manchester Health Authority, and we set up a sort of a program within the OT department of Manchester Health Authority, and it was basically trying to work with patients, getting them back into therapeutic earnings and that type of thing. So the last few years I work in schools, I work in colleges, and we developed the program with the OT department in UL a good number of years ago, and it's proved to be very successful. And the whole concept of it was to take you lads out of your comfort zone and take you into an environment of the woods and to teach a very, very simple craft. And we had a variety. I was doing metalwork, tinsmithing, a little bit of blacksmithing in the old days. We had wool craft, we had jewellery making, we did have herb law at one point, straw craft, spinning and weaving, very simple traditional crafts. Now, unfortunately, with the whole present climate, that's all gone out the window. But I was very keen to try to keep a link going between what we did have in the weekend in the woods, so hopefully when it does come back, and I talked with the staff about how we could actually do this. And one of the main things we're going to look at is with this crafts at home idea. There's several different elements, and I'm only going to briefly describe what we're going to be doing because we are going to be giving you guidance along the way through the internet, of course. So craft in the home, when I think about craft in the home from a childhood perspective, and even though I might be a bloke, I always had a thing about needles. And I always remember my grandmother had a sewing box, and in the old days, if someone needed fixing clothing or whatever, to the sewing box. What was in the sewing box? Essential tools which are very simple to get of. Needles. And one of my personal favourite needles is like a sacking needle, which is a big-eyed needle for doing very simple sewing or repairing, almost like a needle that was used by sailmakers. So I don't want to be limited by your tools, but some of you are not going to be used to tools. Some of you are not going to be used to working with your hands. Some of you are. So I'm going to look at it. Even myself, I found it very challenging, even though I work in loads of different crafts. So I gave myself a limit the other day. I said to myself, right, I'm going to look at what I have in the house, and I don't live in the city, I live in the middle of absolute nowhere, and it's all going to be different to what materials are available for you. And the whole aspect, with the sound walking aspect of this, and is to encourage you to look at your environment around you and to actually see what materials are actually available, whether they're natural materials or whether they're materials that are thrown away from the house, recycled materials. So let's just have a quick look at what I found in the house. So when I go shopping to a supermarket, I don't like plastic. I always try and use a cardboard box. So I found two cardboard boxes, one that had green on it and one that had black on it. So very simple, using a pair of scissors and some Pritt stick, the famous Pritt stick. Simple sign, very simple, which also can be a picture frame, which could then, using some of the natural materials that I found around myself. Look at this beautiful colour of the leaves, like a natural palette of nature. This is wild cherry. And also in the process of going out there into nature, you're also learning a little bit about the history of the trees, this is heather, for instance, and also, for instance, there's loads of brush on my land as well, which, if you look in the history of the brush in Ireland, this was a substantial material for making all sorts of craft items in Ireland, from making rope to making chairs to making bedding to making donkey harnesses, you name it. Here's a quick example I made a few weeks ago for another project. A very simple hat made out of rush, the Bridget's Cross. So just by we want you to try and look at what you've actually got around you, and just looking at simple items that are available. So one more item that I had, a very simple book which could be used to document some of your ideas in. Again, this cardboard, recycled photocopier paper, and I said to myself, well, I'm not going to go out and buy string. What did I have in the house? I found a piece of plastic off a bale of baquettes, and actually, if you can very simply split the packaging and pull off and use that to stitch things. So you can see, even with a limited amount of resources, that you can come up with very, very simple things. So let me just quickly show you some of my other stuff. You can look, we're going to give you a list of resources available to you, because one of them, a list of resources of some of my own projects. I have quite a bit of stuff on YouTube and various things that I've done over the years, and this is some of the stuff that I actually do with children, how using them, encouraging them to make things, some bits of scrap wood, and how to use hammers and nails. Very, very simple. I have quite a bit of that on YouTube as well. But one of the most important things, really, at the end of the day, is to get you into that frame of mind. Like, for instance, a few years ago, I was at a show and I was doing a bit of metalwork and a blacksmithing, and this young lad came up to me and he was very interested in my hammers, you know, and he was only about 13 or 14, and he was interested in the hammers and he was interested in blacksmithing. And I said to him, well, you know, what are you at, young man? You know, what are you doing? I said, oh, I do a bit of blacksmithing. I thought, that's fantastic. You're only a young fella and you're interested in blacksmithing. And I said, have you made anything? Oh, I made a few arrowheads, and I made a bit of a knife, and I made this. And I said, and where did you learn all about blacksmithing? And he just turned straight round to me and says, YouTube. And at the end of the day, in the present climate, and I actually use YouTube, not from an educational point, the whole time. All you have to do, like if you find yourself, you have a plastic bottle, a tin can, or some material like that, you go into YouTube and say, and just put in, what can I make out of a plastic bottle? What can I make out of a tin can? What can I make out of brush? What can I make out of dried leaves? What can I make out of a cardboard box? And up it comes straight away. So remember that what I'm trying to say to you is, don't make it too complicated for yourself. Just look at what resources you have out there and use them as best you can. I will be talking to you soon. I hope to talk to you again online soon, and I hope you're all keeping very well. Thank you very much for listening.